Well, it was shocking, to say the least. It was just very shocking. I didn't go into labor, and at 42 weeks, I had no signs of labor. After a lot of pushback from the medical community, I was pretty much bullied into getting an induction. And I went in for an induction. I had a bad reaction to a drug called Cytotec, where I had hyperstimulated back labor. That led to 2 days of labor. I finally ended up with an emergency C-section, and after the emergency C-section, I had a delayed hemorrhage. And after the hemorrhage, I had an allergic reaction to the blood transfusions. So that ended me in intensive care while my baby was in the NICU, and we were like, apart from each other. So I think that is, really, really traumatic and shocking. Is it really to be away from your baby when you are in intensive care, knowing that your baby's in the NICU just a few flights above you. I think also my husband was exhausted. He was going in between intensive care and the NICU, caring for both of us, my best friend Hannah. Nobody left the hospital for 6 days. So my husband and my best friend Hannah were at the hospital consistently. They slept on the floor. And I think the progression of medical complications was frightening. Definitely grateful that I made it through the initial phase, but after I was finally released from intensive care, I certainly was in no condition to take care of a newborn baby. I had months of rehab and rehabilitation. I was anemic because I never completed my blood transfusions. So we were really frightened about how we were going to even get by. And my best friend Hannah wrote the association, and all of a sudden it was like this light in the middle of darkness because we immediately got a response. Finances were a really big issue for us. I am a dance teacher. I thought I would be back at work in 6 weeks. It took me 5 months to rehab my body to be able to go back to work. I was in a wheelchair for 3 of those months. So to have these women come into our home that literally from the moment I met them treated us like family. I mean, one of the things is they didn't minimize the fact that birth trauma does happen. And I think that is one of the best characteristics of the women that came into our home is from the very beginning, they had an inbuilt empathy to what my family had gone through. And not to have to go through that and basically to PowerPoint that this is what happened and it's awful. They, from the beginning, had this tremendous empathy and kindness. I think that when a family goes through birth trauma, it's shocking also to all of the friends and family who have been expecting a celebratory birth. And sometimes people scatter because there's not a lot of education about how to handle when a birth goes wrong. And these women from the association actually became my friends. They became my confidants. They were the ones that were crying with me. They were the ones that were holding my hand. They were the ones that were holding my baby to my chest while I was breastfeeding when I couldn't hold my baby myself. So, it took me 3 months to even be able to hold my baby. So I think that it was very intimate, very quickly, but they made it that easy. I trusted them. So after my delivery, I was facing a lot of physical, emotional complications just from the experience. And so my best friend contacted the association, and we were really just desperate looking for care. And we immediately received a response from Cordelia. And within a week, there was a schedule set up with these amazing women that came to the house to help us during a time that I wasn't able to care for my newborn, and also during a time that my husband and my best friend who'd gone through all of that were so tired they could barely keep their eyes open. So here come these fresh women and ready to serve, and with a lot of background also with breastfeeding. They were able to step in the gap and kind of help me with the initial phases of breastfeeding. They were able to sit with me. This couple of them did overnights. They helped us with swaddling. They helped with every aspect of care you could even imagine. I would say, first of all, to do research, to not be afraid to take control of having empowerment over your own birth experience, and not also to speak with doulas. For me, it was very clear. We went to OBGYNs, we interviewed multiple OBGYNs, and we also interviewed multiple doulas and midwives, and it was just very clear to us the difference in being personable, being able to ask questions and not getting a pushback when we were trying to ask questions. Timing-wise was huge. Feeling like when we were in the medical system, just everything was so rushed and we didn't have time to get our answers to the questions we had, and it was very much protocol based instead of like I'm an individual woman with my own individual needs and also my own background, and feeling just that comfort that somebody was listening to me being an individual woman. That was the hugest difference between doula care and medical care.
Pregnancy?
During pregnancy, because I had some birth challenges, I am a professional dancer, and obviously it's difficult to continue teaching the bigger you get. And also, I even think at any point of a pregnancy, if you're having physical and health troubles, it's hard to keep working. So I'm an independent contractor. If I don't show up, I don't get paid. Once we actually did go through a traumatic birth and I was not able to go back to work for 5 months, the fact that the association gifted us their care, even to me to this day, is mind-blowing. That we received care from them without having to worry and stress out about how we were going to pay for that, because we were already worrying about how we were going to pay our rent and how we were going to pay our bills, how we were going to keep our baby in diapers. I mean, at that point, we had so many other financial issues. So the idea that we were going to get this impeccable care for free was just the biggest blessing in a time of darkness. It was a light, for sure. I would just like to say to you that I really don't underestimate the exhaustion that it probably takes to do your type of work. I mean, to provide care for women in their time of need and to figure out how to find those women that are even in the right disposition to serve. And I just want to say, like, you have found them. Every woman that showed up, they were women who had their own children and had their own lives, but they made volunteering part of their priority. They were made for this. I mean, it was just clear. My time, like the way that you vetted through the right women, you did it. And I just want to tell you that my child, who just turned 1, would not be the same baby without your organization, because I really personally believe that those beginning few months are so crucial for a baby to really feel that her needs are met. And of course, I had this for my husband and I had Hannah, but what you did for all of us, I look at my baby now and I 100% think that you were a part of the reason why she is a healthy, well-adjusted, happy little baby. I feel so strongly that this organization deserves funding and volunteerism and help, because you cannot underestimate the role of a healthy mother. We are raising the next generation of leaders, and in the very beginning of life, if the mother is feeling confused and depressed and suffering from, postpartum depression or having anxiety, it really sets the tone for the rest of their ability to feel confident to be a mother. And I would also just say that it's so hard to really believe that things can really go wrong, but things really go wrong for families in the time that it should be the biggest celebration, the welcoming of a baby, the biggest miracle in the world, a baby, and things do go wrong. And there is so many logistics that families are facing on top of some serious emotional challenges to overcome what happened. And without companies and organizations like the association, I really feel like our family wouldn't be thriving right now. We wouldn't be thriving right now if it was not for whoever those donors were that allowed my help to be able to come to me. So I just think that this is the work to do. And obviously this work needs funding. And these women that do the volunteering, they deserve to get paid. They are doing a service that has value, and they're willing to do it as volunteers. But I really believe that they deserve to be paid for their time.